Problem is, that's it.
Well, take off your clothes or something. No, I'm teasing. That was tacky and tawdry.
Johnny Carson hosted some of Hollywood's biggest stars, but certain guests left him truly speechless. Over the years, a few women walked onto The Tonight Show and brought a kind of presence, charm, and beauty that made the desk feel completely different. Tonight, we're counting down the 9 most gorgeous women Johnny ever had on his show and sharing what made each of them unforgettable. Join us as we step into the spotlight and see why these legendary stars still captivate audiences today. Doris Day. Doris Day's 1974 appearance on The Tonight Show didn't feel like a routine guest slot. It felt like an occasion. By that point, Doris Day wasn't just a movie star, she was a symbol of an entire era of Hollywood. Audiences didn't tune in to see her promote something new, they tuned in to see her. The anticipation in the room was clear before she even sat down, and Johnny Carson treated her entrance with a level of care and respect he reserved for very few guests. Carson's admiration for Doris Day was personal and obvious. He spoke about being a fan since her very first record, and his tone was warmer than usual, almost protective. Instead of playful teasing or quick jokes, he slowed down. He listened. His body language changed, and the interview felt less like a performance and more like a conversation between two people who genuinely liked and respected each other. Carson wasn't trying to control the moment. He was honoring it. One of the most touching parts of the interview was Doris Day openly talking about stepping back from singing. She admitted that singing in public made her nervous and that she felt rusty. This honesty added emotional depth to the conversation. Instead of presenting herself as a flawless legend, she allowed the audience to see uncertainty and humility. When she said she wanted to start singing again because she truly loved it, it wasn't dramatic or sentimental. It was sincere. That sincerity made the moment powerful. What stood out most was the contrast between her worldwide fame and her relaxed, grounded demeanor. Doris Day had nothing to prove. She didn't lean into glamour or try to relive her peak years. She sat comfortably, spoke gently, and smiled easily. Her success never showed up as ego. Instead, she felt approachable, like someone you could talk to over dinner, rather than a distant movie icon. Her beauty worked the same way. Doris Day didn't rely on bold outfits, heavy styling, or attention-grabbing behavior. Her calm presence did the work for her. The way she spoke, listened, and reacted created a sense of ease. She didn't compete for attention. She naturally held it. That kind of beauty didn't demand effort, and that's why it felt timeless. There were small on-air moments that revealed vulnerability without making her seem fragile. She laughed at herself, admitted fears, and spoke honestly about aging and change. Yet she never appeared unsure of who she was. Her vulnerability felt grounded, not shaky. It showed confidence built over a lifetime, not something dependent on applause. Carson's usual sharp rhythm softened around her. He interrupted less, joked less, and allowed pauses to exist. The desk didn't feel like a late-night stage. It felt like a living room. Doris Day created comfort simply by being herself, and that comfort spread to everyone watching. And just when you think that kind of grace is rare, the next guest proves it can show up in a completely different way. Angie Dickinson. Angie Dickinson's appearances on The Tonight Show stood out because they felt calm, confident, and completely natural. From the moment she sat down with Johnny Carson, it was clear that nothing about her presence was forced. There was an unspoken flirtation between them, but it never crossed into gimmickry or over-the-top performance. A look, a smile, or a short pause conveyed more than exaggerated jokes or staged humor ever could. That restraint gave their exchanges a sense of sophistication and made the interaction feel mature, real, and engaging. What made Dickinson so captivating was that she didn't try to be. She didn't perform for attention or lean into obvious glamour. She simply showed up as herself. That quiet confidence did all the work. She didn't need to prove she was attractive or interesting. She already knew she was, and that certainty radiated naturally on camera. Viewers could feel it. Her presence felt solid, effortless, and grounded, unlike guests who rely on theatrics or exaggerated charm. Her control during live television was remarkable. Angie Dickinson used steady eye contact, relaxed posture, and measured responses to guide the conversation without ever dominating it. She listened as much as she spoke, creating a smooth and balanced exchange. The conversation never felt rushed, forced, or tense. Dickinson knew exactly when to speak, when to smile, and when to allow silence to hang for a beat, letting the moment breathe. That kind of ease comes from confidence and experience, and it made her segments look effortless. Johnny Carson noticed this immediately and adapted his style. He shifted into playful banter rather than leading aggressively, reacting to her rhythm instead of forcing it. Their jokes landed naturally, shared between two people rather than one person trying to control the moment. Dickinson met his humor easily, never missing a beat, which made their chemistry enjoyable and authentic rather than awkward. A perfect example of their relaxed rapport is the poker and card-playing exchange. Dickinson spoke openly about enjoying poker while admitting she wasn't particularly skilled at it. Her honesty made her relatable, and the conversation flowed like a genuine moment between friends rather than a scripted segment. Laughter came naturally, highlighting her warmth and approachability without undermining her elegance. Her maturity amplified her appeal. Dickinson brought a level of assurance that younger or less experienced guests often lack. She wasn't nervous, self-conscious, or seeking approval. That kind of confidence made her beauty feel grounded, lasting, and approachable. When she sat at Carson's desk, the atmosphere felt right. There was no tension to manage, no energy to artificially direct. Her attractiveness wasn't about novelty or spectacle. It was rooted in poise, assurance, and natural authority. Angie Dickinson's calm confidence left a lasting impression because it showed that beauty and strength could coexist without performance. And next, that quiet confidence gives way to a guest who walked onto the set carrying an entire pop culture moment with her. Bo Derek. Bo Derek's appearance on The Tonight Show felt less like a guest visit and more like a pop culture moment arriving in real time. By the time she walked on stage, the audience already knew exactly who she was supposed to be. Her image had spread faster than her voice, and the room reacted before she even spoke. The applause, the whistles, and the energy made it clear that she had already been mythologized by the public. What surprised many viewers was the contrast between that overwhelming attention and Bo Derek's soft, quiet way of speaking. Her voice was gentle, almost hesitant at times, which created visible tension in the room. People expected bold confidence, but instead, they saw someone still adjusting to sudden fame. That contrast made her presence more interesting. It showed that the image didn't fully match the person, and that gap kept attention locked on her. Johnny Carson's reaction was unusually telling. He rarely appeared uncomfortable, but with Bo Derek, there were moments where he clearly didn't know how to steer the conversation. The crowd's excitement added pressure, and even Carson admitted feeling uneasy. This discomfort didn't come from her behavior, but from the size of the moment itself. Bo Derek represented something larger than a typical guest, and that scale was hard to manage live on air. Despite being reduced to an image by the media, Derek handled it without bitterness or defensiveness. She answered questions calmly and didn't push back with sarcasm or frustration. Instead, she acknowledged the attention while staying composed. That choice made her seem self-aware rather than resentful. She didn't try to reshape the narrative aggressively. She let time and conversation do that work. Much of her impact came from what she didn't say. Silence, pauses, and stillness carried weight. She didn't rush to fill space, and her physical presence alone held focus. The camera lingered because it didn't need help. Viewers watched closely, waiting for the next word or movement. This is where the difference between fame and command became clear. Fame had brought her to the couch, but her calm control kept her there. She didn't fight the attention or chase it. She simply existed within it, bridging the gap between being famous and being in control of the moment. Her beauty wasn't something she performed, it was something the culture projected onto her, and she carried it quietly. And just when that intensity peaked, the next guest arrived with sharp wit and total control of her own image. Raquel Welch. Raquel Welch's appearances on The Tonight Show worked because she remained completely in control of her own story. By the time she sat down with Johnny Carson, her reputation as a sex symbol was firmly established. Audiences already knew her image, and her fame preceded her. Instead of resisting that label or appearing uncomfortable, Welch played with it skillfully. She acknowledged it lightly, using confidence and perfect timing rather than denial or over-explanation. That approach allowed her to stay relaxed, while keeping the conversation on her terms, letting her personality and intelligence shine through without the distraction of being boxed into a single image. Her fashion choices quietly reinforced that control. Welch often dressed in ways that highlighted her glamour, without relying on shock value. Over time, her style evolved from revealing, attention-grabbing outfits to more polished, elegant looks. This subtle shift signaled personal growth and confidence. She didn't dress to provoke or dominate the audience's gaze. She dressed as someone who understood that attention would come naturally. Through these choices, she showed viewers that she was more than a frozen image from her earlier roles. She was a living, evolving presence with thought and agency behind her appearances. One of the strongest aspects of Welch's interviews was the rhythm she shared with Carson. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, with quick back-and-forth exchanges that felt natural and unforced. She understood timing, knew when to respond with humor, and knew when to allow Carson to finish a thought. This balance created a smooth, dynamic interaction rather than a competitive one. Carson didn't need to manage the moment with her. Welch carried her side confidently, making the conversation engaging and balanced. Humor was one of Welch's most effective tools. She used it as a shield without ever becoming defensive. When questions or comments touched on her image, she deflected labels with wit rather than confrontation. She didn't deny her glamour, but she refused to be limited by it. By staying lighthearted, she avoided tension and maintained control over how she was perceived, subtly shaping the narrative of her persona in real time. Carson's relaxed energy during her segments reflected this comfort. Welch didn't need reassurance, and she didn't require careful handling. She could handle teasing, redirect the focus of the conversation, and maintain momentum effortlessly. That confidence allowed Carson to relax as well, letting the interview feel genuine and spontaneous rather than carefully managed. What made Raquel Welch truly stand out was the balance between glamour and intelligence happening live on stage. She spoke clearly, thought quickly, and answered with intention. Her beauty supported her voice rather than overshadowing it, and when attention shifted too heavily toward appearance, she gently redirected it through humor or thoughtful insight. She never confronted the audience or Carson aggressively. Her presence guided the flow naturally. Her charm lay in the way beauty and verbal skill worked together. Welch showed that one could be glamorous and intelligent simultaneously, commanding attention without demanding it. And next, we meet a guest whose quiet authority needed no effort. It filled the room from the moment she sat down. Sophia Loren. Sophia Loren's appearances on The Tonight Show felt powerful without ever being loud. She didn't chase attention because she didn't need to. The moment she sat down, the room adjusted to her presence. She wasn't there to entertain in a traditional talk show way. She was there to speak, and people leaned in to listen. That quiet confidence created authority without effort. A large part of Loren's command came from how she spoke. Her accent, careful cadence, and deliberate pauses slowed the conversation down. She chose her words deliberately, making every sentence feel meaningful. She never rushed to respond, and that patience drew attention naturally. Even when discussing serious parts of her life, her tone stayed calm and steady, giving her words weight without drama. One of the most memorable moments was her red charm ritual. She explained how she always wore something red for luck and then shared a small red charm with Carson. The exchange felt personal, not performative. It wasn't meant to impress the audience. It was a quiet gesture of connection that created warmth in the room. That intimacy made the moment feel genuine and memorable. Johnny Carson responded by listening more than he spoke, which was rare. He allowed her space to finish thoughts and tell stories without interruption. This shift mattered because it showed respect. Carson didn't try to steer or soften her presence. He trusted her to carry the conversation, and she did. The interview felt balanced because both treated each other as equals. What made Loren especially compelling was how warmth and seriousness existed together. She smiled easily and laughed openly, yet her stories carried depth. She could talk about life, career, and identity without losing lightness. That balance kept the conversation engaging and human, never heavy or distant. There was a clear difference between being admired and being respected, and Loren commanded both. Admiration came from her beauty, but respect came from how she spoke and held herself. She didn't rely on charm alone. She earned attention through presence and clarity. Her humor was subtle. A raised eyebrow, a pause, or a small smile landed just as effectively as a punchline. She didn't need to explain herself. Timing did the work. Her beauty was not about display. It lived in her presence, her voice, and her control of the room. And next, that quiet authority gives way to a guest whose energy turned the couch into a stage. Ann-Margret. Ann-Margret never treated The Tonight Show like a place to sit quietly and talk. From the moment she appeared, it was clear she came to perform. She didn't resist conversation, but she didn't limit herself to it either. For her, television was a live space meant for movement, sound, and energy. Sitting still would have felt incomplete, and audiences could sense that immediately. Her entrance alone brought excitement, as if the air in the studio had shifted. Viewers could tell that this was going to be more than a standard interview. She transformed a tightly controlled talk show format into something closer to a variety performance. Instead of waiting passively for questions, she actively filled the space with motion and sound. Whenever she danced, sang, or moved around the set, the interview shifted from casual conversation to full entertainment. The desk became part of her stage, and the usual rules of late-night television seemed to bend to her energy. She didn't just answer questions, she created moments that made the show feel alive. Dance, singing, and physical movement weren't extras for Ann-Margret. They were central to her appeal. Her confidence came through her body as much as her words. Every gesture, every step, and every turn projected self-assurance. She moved without hesitation, showing complete comfort in front of a live audience. That physical ease magnified her charisma because it demonstrated fearlessness. She wasn't worried about mistakes or judgment. Instead, she trusted her talent and let it guide the performance naturally. Johnny Carson recognized her energy and adapted his approach. He stepped back completely, giving her the space to shine. Rather than controlling the conversation, he reacted to it. Carson understood when a guest needed structure, and with Ann-Margret, structure would have stifled her. By listening, laughing, and responding rather than directing, he allowed her to create memorable moments effortlessly. His role shifted from host to audience member, and the effect was electric. The audience responded differently to Ann-Margret than to most guests. The energy in the studio resembled a concert more than a talk show. Applause came quickly and loudly, and excitement stayed high throughout her appearance. People weren't just listening, they were watching intently, waiting to see what she would do next. Costumes played a critical role in her performance. Each outfit wasn't just clothing, it was part of her act. The designs were chosen to move with her body, catch the studio lights, and enhance her presence. They worked with her energy rather than distracting from it. Because of her constant motion, confidence, and presence, other guests often seemed still by comparison. Ann-Margret's beauty didn't sit quietly. It moved, danced, and filled the room with life, creating a sense of vitality that lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. And next up is a guest whose power came not from motion, but from simply sitting down and commanding the moment with presence alone. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor's appearance on The Tonight Show felt monumental from the moment she walked on stage. She wasn't just another famous guest sitting at Johnny Carson's desk. She carried with her decades of Hollywood history, personal triumphs, and very public struggles. Her presence alone shifted the mood of the studio. People in the audience and behind the cameras alike seemed to understand that this wasn't an ordinary interview. It was an event. Every movement, every glance seemed charged with the weight of her career and life experiences. Johnny Carson's approach reflected that understanding. He spoke more formally than usual, choosing his words carefully and pacing the conversation deliberately. He avoided interrupting her and allowed her to set the rhythm of the dialogue. This wasn't distance or formality for its own sake. It was a recognition of the magnitude of her presence. Carson treated her less like a guest and more like an honored figure, showing deference while still maintaining the warmth and intimacy of his show. That balance set the tone for the segment and gave the interview a sense of gravity uncommon in late-night television. What made the interview compelling was how Taylor combined confidence with emotional openness. She spoke honestly about her life without appearing exposed or unguarded. She acknowledged love, loss, and personal challenges, yet she never invited pity. Her voice remained steady, her posture composed, and her delivery assured. That careful control allowed her to be vulnerable, without diminishing her authority. She could speak from experience, while maintaining a strong, commanding presence. Taylor's ability to convey vulnerability without fragility was remarkable. She didn't frame herself as weak or uncertain. Instead, she shared insights and memories as someone who had lived fully and learned from every moment. That kind of honesty felt earned, not confessional, and it made her strength more apparent rather than less. Viewers felt the difference between sharing an experience and seeking sympathy. Taylor did the former effortlessly. There was a palpable sense of history entering the modern television set. Late-night formats usually move quickly, with light-hearted jokes and rapid-fire exchanges, but her presence slowed the rhythm. Glamour felt heavier and more serious with her because it carried life experience. This wasn't about sparkle or charm, it was about depth, memory, and survival. Her beauty radiated from lived experience rather than from cosmetic perfection. Behind the scenes, Carson's staff reportedly treated her visit with extra care, recognizing it as a rare and historic moment. For the audience, witnessing her presence felt equally extraordinary, a shared acknowledgement of significance on both sides of the camera. Elizabeth Taylor's beauty came from life, emotion, and visibility. She didn't present an image, she presented a fully lived life. Every glance, every gesture, conveyed history, strength, and authenticity. That combination made her appearance one of the most unforgettable in the show's history. And after a presence that carried such weight, the next guest brought a completely different kind of power. Warmth, ease, and quiet confidence that could fill the room without demanding it. Lynda Carter. Lynda Carter walked onto The Tonight Show carrying one of the most recognizable images on television. As Wonder Woman, she represented strength, beauty, and confidence all at once. But the moment she sat down with Johnny Carson, something interesting happened. Instead of leaning into that larger-than-life image, she spoke in a calm, friendly way that felt familiar. She sounded less like a superhero and more like someone you could easily talk to. And that contrast worked instantly. She disarmed expectations right away. Audiences expected bold confidence or polished publicity talk, but Carter offered warmth and ease instead. Her relaxed tone and natural smile shifted the mood of the interview. She didn't act precious about her fame, and she didn't seem overwhelmed by it either. That balance made her feel grounded, even while carrying enormous popularity. When the Wonder Woman costume came up, Carter joked about it comfortably. Her humor wasn't defensive or dismissive. It showed confidence. She understood the cultural impact of the role and was comfortable acknowledging it without being defined by it. By laughing lightly and speaking openly, she showed that she could appreciate the image without being trapped by it. Johnny Carson responded with visible ease. He seemed energized and playful around her, More relaxed than he often was with very famous guests. Their banter felt natural, with shared laughter and easy timing. Carter's openness made Carson feel comfortable enough to joke freely, which kept the conversation light and engaging. What stood out was how her intelligence and warmth balanced her physical presence. Carter spoke thoughtfully and listened carefully, showing curiosity rather than rehearsed answers. She discussed her career, her interests, and even her singing with genuine enthusiasm. Her beauty was obvious, but it never overshadowed her voice or her personality. She also didn't lean on her looks, which made them even less central to the conversation. Carter didn't seek validation or react strongly to compliments. She accepted attention gracefully and moved on. That confidence made her presence feel steady instead of showy. In doing so, she helped redefine what a beautiful woman could look like on late-night television. She was strong without being distant, glamorous without being untouchable, and confident without ego. She showed that beauty could exist alongside kindness, humor, and intelligence. Her beauty worked best because it was paired with emotional accessibility. Viewers didn't just admire her, they felt comfortable with her. That comfort stayed long after the interview ended. And next comes a guest whose warmth and charm made America fall in love all over again. Farrah Fawcett. Farrah Fawcett's appearances on The Tonight Show felt like watching America's favorite person walk into the room. The audience already adored her before Johnny Carson even asked the first question. Her fame from Charlie's Angels had exploded quickly, and viewers felt a strong emotional connection to her. She wasn't just popular, she was familiar. People felt like they already knew her, and that affection showed in the applause and smiles throughout the studio. Her feathered hairstyle became an instant visual shorthand for her appeal. The moment she appeared, audiences recognized her look without needing an introduction. The hair wasn't just a trend, it was part of her identity on screen. It communicated youth, openness, and a carefree spirit. That image helped make her feel accessible rather than distant, which mattered on a talk show built around conversation. What truly carried the interview, though, was her warmth. Farrah giggled easily, smiled often, and responded with genuine enthusiasm. Her friendliness didn't feel rehearsed or forced. She listened closely to Carson and reacted naturally, which made the exchange feel personal. That openness invited viewers in and made the interview feel lighter than most. Johnny Carson's hosting style shifted around her. He became more protective and affectionate, asking gentler questions and giving her room to speak. There was a clear sense that he wanted her to feel comfortable. He treated her less like a celebrity under scrutiny, and more like someone being welcomed into his space. That approach helped her relax and be herself. Despite massive fame, Farrah remained humble. She spoke about her success with gratitude rather than entitlement. She didn't act as though she expected special treatment, and she seemed genuinely surprised by how much attention she received. That humility made her even more appealing because it felt honest. Her vulnerability also played a key role in her charm. She didn't hide uncertainty or nerves, and that openness made her feel real. Instead of weakening her image, it strengthened it. Viewers felt protective of her because she seemed kind and sincere, not hardened by fame. Farrah embodied the girl next door on a national level. She looked glamorous, but her personality stayed grounded. She felt like someone who could be famous without changing who she was. That balance made her beauty feel safe, joyful, and easy to love. Her presence lifted the room, and that joy spread to everyone watching. These 9 women didn't just appear on The Tonight Show, they transformed it. From Doris Day's effortless grace to Farrah Fawcett's bright, contagious charm, each guest brought something unique that made Johnny Carson's desk feel alive, warm, and unforgettable. Their beauty wasn't just skin deep, it was confidence, intelligence, and presence in motion. Together, they created moments that still captivate audiences decades later. Which of these iconic stars do you think had the most unforgettable presence on the show? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from Hollywood's golden era.